NFC West. Not many expected the Arizona Cardinals to be 8-1, sitting atop the division. But now we've got some key injuries to the 49ers and Seahawks. The Niners lost linebacker Patrick Willis for the rest of the season with a toe injury. And then the defending Super Bowl champion Seahawks lost nose tackle Brandon Mebane for the rest of the season with a hamstring injury. So, Jerome, which is the bigger loss?
Oh, it's a tough one, but when you look at both of these teams, when you lose the best player on your football team, and Willis, when you lose your play caller, the quarterback of your defense, the guy who's really the spark plug for your team, you can't replace a guy like that. You know, they showed some clips in this week's game of him calling up the team, and he's still in the middle, and he's got his street clothes on, and he's still out there trying to pump that team up. But you lose a little bit when you're not out there on the field with your guys. And so when you don't have your inspirational leader on the football field leading the way, there is a problem. Now, Brandon Mebane has arguably been the best defensive player on that Seattle Seahawks defense. I understand that. But he's not been really the lightning rod, the guy that, hey, is the rah-rah guy of that defense. He's doing his job in there, and he's been highly effective. They're going to lose a lot in Seattle. Teams are going to be able to run the football on them, I think, a little bit better. But when you lose a guy like Willis, he's been a Pro Bowler since he stepped on the football field. That's how much of an impact he makes for that San Francisco football team. So I see Willis is definitely a bigger loss than Mebane.
So you're going with Willis. Skip, what do you think?
Let Stephen A. go before we I don't want to have him sit out too long here. What do you think, Stephen A.?
I think Mebane is a bigger loss. And the reason why is because I agree with everything that the bus is saying about Patrick Willis. But you've got Aldon Smith coming back. It's a possibility that Navarro Bowman will be back. You look at what they've been doing with their defense in the absence of a Willis. The name escapes me, Charles. I forgot his last name. The name escapes me, but he's had like 18 and 17 tackles respectively for San Francisco over the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Chris Borland, exactly. That's it. That's what it is. He's had 18 and 17 tackles respectively over the last 2 games in Willis's absence playing that position. I think he's going to do some good things, and I think if you get Bowman and Aldon Smith back, I definitely think that they'll be all right. With Mebane, here's the reality. Brian and Clemens left in free agency to go to Jacksonville, and that was a devastating loss for the Seattle Seahawks defense because it really touched on their depth. And now you've got a guy like Mebane, when you consider the fact that whether it's the Dallas Cowboys or whoever else you want to pick, they might have pushed Seattle around a little bit because they've got speeds, they've got athleticism, but they don't necessarily have the girth, the size, the mass that you want. That's the bottom line. So I look at it from the perspective that, you know what, with Mebane being gone, it's going to be a more devastating blow to a Seattle Seahawks defense that doesn't appear as stout as it appeared last year. Yeah, they're still a top 10 ranked defense, still ranking like 4th against the rush. I think the number is, what's the number here? I think it's like 8th against the pass, 10th overall, number 3 in yards allowed. But I just look at them, and losing Mebane, to me, is going to have a devastating effect on them. I don't think Willis's absence is going to be any more devastating to San Francisco than it already has been. And remember, Aldon Smith is coming back, and Navarro Bowman hopefully will be soon as well. So I look at Mebane being a more devastating blow, more devastating loss.
So Stephen A. is going with Mebane. You are going with Willis. Skip,
I'm going to break the tie here. I agree with Jerome's initial point. This is a really close call. But I'm going to go with Stephen A. on this one. I think this is huge advantage San Francisco and advantage Arizona within this division because Stephen A. brought up, and you brought up Chris Borland. The last 2 weeks, every time I look up watching San Francisco play, number 50's in the middle of the pile doing something great. He's recovering a fumble. He's dislodging the football. This is a 3rd-round pick from Wisconsin, and he is not Patrick Willis by any stretch, as you point out, but man, he can play football. I mean, I think he's proven to his teammates, as Harbaugh spoke yesterday, he has a rare nose for the football. And he's just one of those guys, you played with those guys who just, I don't know, they just have that instinct and they just get to the right place at the right time, maybe without not the talent or the impact that Patrick Willis could get there and deliver. But I think they're going to be fine. And they get Aldon Smith back, and I don't know how he's going to be. I don't know what shape he's in, but I assume he'll kind of play angry. He usually does. And so I think he'll have some impact. And to me, Brandon Mebane is like what happened to the Patriots last year when they lost Vince Wilfork. Remember that? It was at a point in the season where I was rooting for the Patriots, and I said, oh, they're going to be okay. No, they're not. Wilfork was the almost 400-pound anchor to that defense and a team leader on defense, and they got about as far as they could get, which was to Denver, to the AFC Championship game. And then I think it hurt not having Vince Wilfork. And I've been bullish on Seattle all year, and now I got to rethink my position without a guy, as you point out, who had become the quiet storm of that defense. Sort of the opposite of Richard Sherman, because you don't hear about him very much.
Yeah, right.
He's just pushing the pile like crazy. He's occupying 2 blockers every play, and you just can't control this guy. And he had become, as you say, the best player overall on defense, maybe the most important player on their defense. He cannot be replaced. I'm not saying that Patrick Willis is replaceable, but Chris Borland's pretty good, and you throw Aldon Smith back into the mix, and all of a sudden, I think they're going to work with a little new pep in their step. They're okay, and Seattle's not okay. Well,
and one of the reasons I say, Chris Borland has come in and played well. Very highly productive player at Wisconsin. But the problem here is defenses have the ability now to create matchup issues with the Chris Borland. And now not only will he impact the running game, but defensively in pass coverage, he becomes a bit of a liability. That was a knock on him in college. Smaller, really not really good
I mean,
in terms of
he's your basic overachiever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes down the stretch, all right, the Seattle Seahawks will have to make some adjustments in terms of their defensive philosophy. They may have to do more angling, more games, do more things internally on a defensive line to really help with that. They may have to do some run blitzes to try to help with the loss of Mebane. But when you have an inside linebacker, all right, that who's there, now you can game plan against him. And so going down the stretch, they're going to have to go against an Arizona team. They're going to have to go against a Seattle Seahawks team that they're physical teams. They want to run the football, and they want to game plan against certain players. So with that being said, Patrick Willis was one of those guys who was the best player, hands down, on your defense. So now it's not a question of we're losing a really good player, stopgap guy. We're losing our best player on defense. We possibly are going to get some guys back. We don't know what percentage they're going to be when they do come back. The one thing that we do know is that we've gone from 100% at the inside linebacker to about 75%, 80%, which is not bad. But going down the stretch in a playoff race where you've got to win, this is not a scenario where they just need to get to the playoffs. They've got to win. Okay. Can they win the Super Bowl with Chris Borland?
I don't know. So how do you handicap that division race right now?
I've got to give it to Arizona. Even though you got a quarterback there that's inexperienced, Bruce Arians has had young quarterbacks before. He had a rookie in Andrew Luck, and he was able to.
Did pretty well.
He did pretty well. And so I think I would have to give it right now to Arians and the Arizona Cardinals because of their defense and how strong that defense is playing.
But is the Cardinals quarterback, is he comparable to an Andrew Luck, though? I would say probably not.
Good point. Touche.
All right, so you're going to go with Willis, and these guys are going to go with Mebane. So let's go ahead and stay in the NFL. We'll keep it we're going to switch over to the NFC South. We're going to take a